There we go.
Okay, I'm assuming that my screen is sharing, and hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you. Jeff asked me to talk a little bit about my background and my fractional CFO business. So I'm going to do that today and just jump in if you have any questions. And my contact information is in the deck, which is being recorded. So please reach out to me anytime. I really enjoy working with other fractional CFOs and learning from other people's ups and downs and helping support people who get started. So I'll jump right in. So first, just a little bit of background about myself. So I did my undergrad at UCLA, as we were talking about before. I'm here in the Southern California region. At UCLA, I studied economics and accounting. And right after that, I went into production accounting at Jim Henson Productions, the Muppets. I did a couple of years in the Peace Corps. Then I came back to LA for my MBA at USC. So I went to the rival school. And then the biggest part of my career, so the non-fractional CFO part, the biggest part was spent at Toyota Financial Services. So Toyota used to be based down in Torrance in Bill's territory there. And I worked in capital markets for about 15 years. I always had the dream when I was in the corporate world of running my own business. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew it would be consulting. So I was the whole time kind of putting money aside for eventually when I would start my own business. Toyota decided to move to Texas. I didn't want to move to Texas. And that's when I got very serious about starting a consulting company. I was going to focus on Lean Six Sigma consultants, so Kaizen, process improvement. I took a pit stop at Boys and Girls Club Venice. I was the CEO there, and that was really for me the instant where I realized that I wanted to be a fractional CFO, because I was CEO there, and that job was just so difficult between managing operations, HR, finances, fundraising, the kids, and I really felt like if I had had a strong CFO or finance partner, I could have done a much better job of running the whole organization. So I figured, let me go build that business that I felt like I needed when I was in the CEO role. And in 2018, I took the leap from there to do full-time work as my own business as fractional CFO. Quick side note, these are my kiddos. So we just got back from spring break trip to visit Texas A&M. That's Carl, my oldest, and then my twins are 14. They went to New York with my husband over spring break. So I think we're going to talk about our Gallup strengths, and I redid it. So at Toyota, we used to actually have to have posted on our office whatever the results were from our Strengths Finder, our Gallup survey. And so I redid it just this week in prepping for this session. And what I thought was so interesting was that futuristic came up, and it wasn't there before. And I really believe that that is the impact of running my own business and helping entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized business owners run their businesses and running finance for them. These are my stages. So like I mentioned, 2014, I was still at Toyota. I was in a W-2 position. I held the belief that I could build a consulting business while having security of a W-2 position. It didn't go well at all. My business, quote unquote, and I put it in air quotes because you can't really call it that, it just languished. It was so difficult for me. I was still trying, when I moved over to Boys and Girls Club Venice to be CEO, I was still trying to build my business. It was not until 2018 when I realized that, okay, if I'm ever going to start my own business and go out on my own, I just have to cut the cord of the W-2 paycheck and go for it. 2018 was a little bit tough. The first year, of course, I ran in the red. It wasn't that easy. 2019 was awesome for me. I had really honed in. So one of my lessons learned is diversify. I had really honed in on being fractional CFO for nonprofits and for restaurants. There's a lot of similarities in terms of HR issues, employee turnover, cash flow issues. Unfortunately, then when 2020 hit, those were not great industries to be focusing on. So all my great plans for being wildly successful in 2020 didn't come true. Now back in the rebuild process, and it's been a good couple years, and excited about what comes in the future. So what's happening for the rebuild? Now, in running my fractional CFO business, I am much more diversified. So I have medical tech, I have pro audio, I have food and beverage. I am not limited to only the LA region. I put nationwide in there, but that's only because with Zoom meetings and Zoom networking, I've been able to pick up clients. I have a couple clients in Utah, for example, that I've never met face to face. One thing I wanted to mention, because I know Jeff and I have talked about this before, and I know we all have different strategies. I try to limit my practice to looking at clients who have between 10 and 30 million annual revenue. And I set that threshold at the bottom because I found it's where I can get more high quality work done. And I know that that's different for everybody. So I'm just sharing with you what works for me. I only will carry on my client load at a time 1 or 2 nonprofits. So I make sure that I'm much more diversified than I was before. And in the last year, so 2021, I stopped doing anything that happened sort of in the finance stack before the bank recs being done. So I take anything above that level and over. Earlier on, when I was running fractional CFO business, I actually had a bookkeeper on my staff, and I would do bookkeeping for my clients. But I have found for myself that that hasn't been the best use of my time. Again, I think everybody is going to find what works better for them. And I know there are some people on this call that do that differently. So they're all definitely options. Most important part of being a fractional CFO for me has been business development. It is also one of the most challenging parts because, first of all, it's hard, it's tiring, it takes a lot of effort. And in my opinion, you just can't ever stop. What makes a difference for me, though, is I love what I do. I love talking about it. So I'm willing to get up and talk about being a fractional CFO, talk about how businesses and entrepreneurs having their books in order, being able to have bank relationships, request financing, request lending, attract investors, know what their numbers are, know what their equity balance is on their balance sheet. I spend a lot of time and effort in business development, but I do want to share that it has paid off because you never know where a client is going to come from based on some presentation. I go to Chamber of Commerce meetings. I'm a member in Provisors. I'm obviously a member in FANG. I do all kinds of different things. And for me, it's been a real game changer. Specifically in terms of business development, and this is what I do that works for me. So I do a lot of content creation, whether it's on my website through my blog, or I'll sometimes post something on my blog and then follow it up with a post on LinkedIn. Basically, I look at it as sort of giving away free advice and free information. But it's incredible, especially I started using, it's been a little bit over a year. I started posting videos on LinkedIn, and it's crazy how much traction they can get. So here's just an example of what I've done lately. So recently posted an article about UCC filings. What are they? How do they work? These are common questions that my clients ask all the time. And I have some examples later I'll show you. I did a very in-depth look at payments processing, and I did a video about the new 401k laws in California. Coming soon, we're putting together a deck on liquidity management, inventory management, and I'm starting to narrow in on some of the fundamentals of exit planning, because that's something that comes up a lot for my clients. So here's examples of what I mean about content creation. My website, you can see that I just post articles here and there. If I post an article on my website, I also post it on my LinkedIn, on my business page, and also on my personal profile. And you can see here is an example of, I have this program, and I think Jeff has it too. It's called Doodly, and it's awesome because you can make these videos, and this is up on my website, that they're basically cartoon characters and captions that can discuss topics in a way that a lot of people prefer that type of format over reading an article about a change in laws in California about 401k plans. The other set of content creation I do is what I call the way more in depth. So these are a couple of slides from, I did a deep look into payment processing because I was noticing that especially my e-commerce clients were really struggling with who should they use, Square, Stripe, BigCommerce, should they have a merchant bank account, should they be with Elavon, how should they handle it, what are the pros and cons, what are the breakpoints, how does the whole process work? Where are you getting 2% shaved off, 3% shaved off? So these type of decks I put together and then will offer to do webinars for different groups. And in essence, it's giving away content, giving free advice, but oftentimes these types of things turn into clients in the future. And last slide is just going back to this futuristic theme and thinking about what I've seen recently and what's happening in the future. There are so many fractional CFOs now and so many people moving into this fractional space. So fractional CMO, fractional revenue generator, fractional HR. I have noticed increased competition. I don't worry about that because I believe there's so much work out there. The great thing about doing what we do and working in numbers and finance is it's always needed. It's not a trend. It's not going to suddenly go away or not be cool. So I'm always happy to work with groups like this and meet other people who are doing the same thing that I do. I think one of the big challenges that is coming, if not is already fully here, is this concept of outsourcing bookkeeping, especially overseas. I did a deep look into it last year and actually thought about bringing on board a couple of bookkeepers and accountants from the Philippines. I decided not to do it, so I'm running my whole team basically local or referrals local. And I just think that that's something that we have to think about as fractional CFOs, because I have noticed that people are able to get fractional accounting help at less expensive rates that they were able to in the past. And that is it. Here's my contact information. Please ask questions or reach out at any time if I can be of any help.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good.
Thank you.
So if you want to stop the share for just a moment.
Oh, yes,
we
yes,
can see
yes.
each other.
There you go.
Beautiful. All right. Anna, thanks a lot. That was great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, you guys just heard a whole nother perspective on the business we're in. And this is the purpose of sharing this kind of information. And so hopefully it gave you guys a lot of food for thought. I know it did me. You know, I'm always trying new things and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So Anna, one question I have.
Yeah.
So what does from a people perspective and resource perspective, what does your business look like right now?
So myself and I have 2 part-timers that I pay as W-2s and 1 part-timer that I pay as a 1099 because she just does like Salesforce, my CRM, and some very admin stuff. But anybody who I have on board with me that is actually increasing my capacity to do more business, I pay them as W-2s. I had, before the pandemic, I had in essence a full-time bookkeeper, but that became very difficult to manage that person and that process as the ebbs and flows of client work went up and down, because it's just like a fixed cost there. And it's a responsibility for a human being. It's not like, you know, moving out of your office or cutting back on something you spend. The part-timers that I have, one has another job and she works for me part-time, and the other doesn't want to work full-time. She's raising her kids and she loves the flexibility, and it works great for me. For me, I like the flexibility of having a team like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I saw that you had inventory on your competence or whatever.
Yes,
your
that's
resource.
one of the decks that we're working on right now. So I'm trying to make it easy for my manufacturing clients to understand how tracking your inventory and managing your inventory impacts your bottom line. And I'm trying to put together a deck in a way that lets them easily see the relationship between changes in inventory and cost of goods sold.
Yeah, nice.
And it's not always people who are very, very passionate about their product or whatever they're making. That isn't always intuitive. It's kind of weird, like accounting is kind of strange in that part, but I want them to understand that it is a way of managing the business.
Yeah.
And
Especially
managing cash flow.
Yeah, especially with your background from Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. So Sean, you had your hand raised. Where are you? I lost you.
Yeah. Thanks,
I did
Jeffrey.
too.
And thank you for the presentation. It was really good. I took some good notes. So hoping you could dig in a little bit deeper on the overseas and your reluctance to do overseas. I've been building a practice for 2 years now. I have 2 of my 8 or 9 folks are overseas. I don't put them in a position where they could create mischief,
Okay.
like having all access pass to the accounting system kind of deal. But I'd be curious to know more about your reluctance, because maybe there's a blind spot or two that I need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, and I brought that one up on purpose because I think it really is important for all of us to think about. And I honestly believe it's just a matter of preference and what each of us feels like managing, and what your client base looks like. So, and I know we talked about it, maybe it was on a previous one, like in terms of the concept of giving anyone overseas access to your client's books, pros and cons on that. I talked to some of my clients. My clients were like, no way. My clients are not super sophisticated about keeping their social security numbers out of stuff they send me. I'll just put it flat out like that. Sometimes I'm really shocked at what I see them post on our share drives. And I'm just like, this is crazy. And I'm just afraid that if I had overseas access to my books, and it doesn't even have to be overseas, but broad access to the books of my clients, that I could get in a situation where there's some kind of breach. I will tell you, on the other side of it, in the past couple months, I have missed out on clients because I'm priced too high, because I am not taking advantage of being able to get, there's very, very high quality workforces. They do incredible work. And so that for now is something that I have decided that I'm going to take that on. I'm doing fine, but I would also say if we talk a year from now and I've changed my position, that's possible too. But for now, that's where it is. Yeah. It's a tough one. It's tough.
I got some
Really
feedback on that. My name's Stephen. I build offshore teams, and particularly in the financial space as well. There are definitely some setbacks if you're hiring on your own, and there are advantages to going through agencies. And it should not be missed that companies like Deloitte, all the big four, a lot of the major consultancies hire offshore to do a lot of financial accounting work. So there are, not only are they doing that, but these people have a lower cost of living that these companies are taking advantage of. But this actually gives you guys an in. A lot of the smaller businesses that are willing to pay $1 or $2 more an hour, which is still a really low rate, are able to come in at 10, 20% more than what these people are getting paid.
Yes.
So, just something to think about.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. And I see that without a doubt. Yeah. I did at one point, I posted, and I can't remember the name of the group, but it was probably sort of similar to a company like Stephen has. And I posted like what I thought was a low salary for Philippines. And I got so many people interested. It was unbelievable. But I like the idea of having somebody helping you manage that process. I think that's great.
Max, you have a question?
Yeah, I think this would be a good form. I had sent Jeff an email when I first connected with him about insurance, and do you have insurance for your fractional CFO firm? I know Jeff's response was he doesn't. Do
I
you?
do. I
you-
do,
you know,
yeah. I run the whole set, so I have the cybersecurity, the general liability, the DNO. I'm, I guess, probably pretty conservative in that sense. My company's structured as an S corp, separate from my personal situation.
Interesting. Okay, so now that you guys are all inspired by Anna's presentation, does anybody want to raise their hand to do it next month? Anybody can, basically you see what it is. You tell a little bit about yourself and you give some stories and some information that would be interesting to the group.
I'm a bit new, so I'll maybe stick around a couple more and then volunteer.
Okay. Should I call on somebody? All right, so let me ask it this way. So Michael, you're new. Michael Goldman.
I'm newer than Stefan is, so this is my
Yeah, that's right.
first
You
meeting.
clocked in first, so yeah, today.
So I think that I'd like to go to another meeting or so too before I volunteer. So
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, I'm just trying to I'm learning the ropes. I mean, I thought we were going to talk about this book. I bought this book I bought this book just for this meeting,
Oh, don't worry, we're not done.
Okay.
We're just starting.
But
Okay.
Jeffrey, let me ask you. I mean, I'm not the fractional CFO, but I do work with a lot of fractional CFOs, in particular about the R&D tax credits. Is that something this group would benefit from learning about?
Yeah, I mean, just even what you just talked about earlier, what you do, it would be very interesting for the group. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't next week I'll come. I can give a high level on building offshore teams and that aspect of enablement. I'll also bring Tyler Kem, who's the president of Strike for the R&D tax credits, a company I consult with, and we can team up.
Sounds good.
All right,
Appreciate it.
cool.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so but remember, so the biggest piece is, so we have this thing, and Anna did it very well. I call it the know, like, trust section of your presentation.
Okay.
So you saw how she went back to kind of her beginning and what she's all about and her children.
Yep.
So if you could throw in a piece of that, it really makes a big difference in the meeting.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you guys all the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
All
right. So we're going to turn it over to Melanie so that Michael gets his investment return. on his
Yeah,
book.
and the time to take the
Yeah,
assessment.
Yeah,
Although I felt it was a little bait and switchy when I did it, because it's kind of like you do the assessment, but then they want you to buy all these reports. I mean, I don't know if that happened to anybody else.
no, yeah, don't buy the reports unless you really want.
No, I figured I got the top 5 criteria, whatever it is. So
Exactly.
good enough for
Good
this
enough. That's
meeting.
what you need for today. Okay,
Yeah.
Melanie, you want to take it from here?
I do. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here and letting me speak with you. So this is the second part of the branding series that we're going to do. And what we're doing here is developing your brand so that you are better able to communicate with your clients and attract the type of clients that you want. For those of you who were not here last time, a little bit about me. So I'm a marketing and brand professional with over 15 years of experience, and I've worked in all facets of marketing from B2C to B2B, retention and acquisition, and I've done sales as well. But what I really love is branding and helping companies build their brand, build their unique personality that helps them find their place in the market, and also helping people build their brand. Then it helps you, again, resonate with your clients better in a way that's very authentic and helps drive those people toward you. And then a little bit about the personal side of me is I went through how I can't really answer where I'm from because I was a military kid. So I decided to just post my Instagram, which has a little bit of bio, which says I'm an elder millennial, a military brat, and a hippie in sense of loving the earth and fighting the man. I think living under a Marine household, you learn to either really respect authority or try to fight it your whole life. And so that's where I ended up. What these pictures say about me is 3 of them are at weddings, 3 of them are also at the beach, and then there's some pirates. So I like oceans. I like my friends getting married and yeah, and traveling. Oh, and only I think 2 of these are in Colorado. The rest are in different states or countries. So to recap, what we talked about last week is we're building you a brand pyramid, which has your vision statement, your mission statement, and today we're going to focus on core values. So we learned what that brand is. Your vision is why you do what you do, why you get up in the morning and go to work. And then your mission is what you do to fulfill that. We worked on that last week. If you weren't here, then feel free to reach out to me and we can work on that together. But today we're going to talk about your core values and what those are. And that really helps shape how you act and behave professionally and with your clients and what they expect when they see you. So we're going to go over 3 different things. The first is going to be Strengths Finder. So I hope that you either did buy the book or just bought the assessment. And I wanted to know how many people, I love that Anna used those in her example or her presentation, but I wanted to know how many people took this and then was anybody surprised by anything that they found?
Okay, wait, so do you want us to raise our hands?
Yeah, raise your hand. Tell
If you
me a
took
little
it,
bit.
if you took it, yeah, raise your hand if you took it.
Great.
And
Excellent.
and if you were surprised. Now, who was surprised by it? Right? Oh, Anna was surprised. Interesting.
Futuristic was new for me.
Oh, by the way, Anna, futuristic is my number 1.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It is. So I did have our top. So I have Jeff's in a spreadsheet as well as everybody in our companies. But so and then I put a capital letter with where they fit. So the Strengths Finder, it's 34 strengths. They're all categorized into different sections. So it's either strategic, relational, execution, or influence. And what's not surprising to me, but I think interesting is that all of mine are either on execution or relational. And I actually paid for the larger assessment. So in my top probably 20, like not even in the 20 is any influence, but I'm a marketer. And so I use my strengths to learn how to influence people. If I wasn't good at influencing, I wouldn't have a job. Like it's my job to motivate people to move in certain directions. And I do that through understanding the relational side of people and then being able to execute that in a really formulaic way. Something that I find interesting about Jeff's is his are mainly strategic and execution and influence, but he builds really good relationships, even though that's not in his top. So he uses his influence and his strategy to be able to pull things out of people, which ends up being personal and helps in those relationships. Did anybody have like all of one category or a majority of a category?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how, so I learned about Strengths Finder years ago, and one of the things I do when I go to a new company where I'm there for quite a bit is, see Sean, 2 executing and 3 strategic. Yep. So what I do is I introduce this at companies. So I introduced this at Pivot, and I started with the finance department. And of course, we all look the same. You know, when you look at our profiles, it's kind of like, I call it the self-selection of professions. And then, you know, we started to roll it out to different groups and get them looking at it. It's so funny because, you know, the marketing types, you know, there's a lot of relationship stuff in there. And, you know, one of the guys that worked for me that I was, wow, 4 strategic and 1 execution. Holy cow. He, you know, he's a really nice guy and everybody likes him. And he just was so beside himself because he didn't have any relational ones in his top 5. So I told him, look, that's not it. You know, you're a great finance person. And so, you know, these are your go-tos. They're not necessarily everything about you, but when you know, when it gets tough, that's where you go to your strengths. So he finally got over it, but it took him a while.
Also, something when we first took these and I was talking about it with Jeff, there were ones that were lower for me that I said that I wanted to work on. And he was like, no, that's not the point. Like those aren't just like your core competencies. Like what you do is you use the other ones to help move those along. So really leaning into what is unique to you, to motivate and to get your jobs done. Great. So I have a couple more interactive sessions and I want to make sure that because one of them you're going to have to take a quiz.
Okay.
So now we're going to go over archetypes, and what an archetype is it's rooted in psychology. So it's the set of attributes. It's basically like a personality category. And what it does is when you align yourself with an archetype, it helps you kind of see this image of yourself and how your clients perceive you. And it allows you to have authenticity while being flexible. So we're coming up with, you know, your brand pyramid that says why you do, what you value, and why your people choose you. But this is really kind of like how you move through the world. So people, like, we all behave situationally. So if I'm in a group setting and I'm like at a party, I'm pretty quiet if I don't know anybody there. And when I'm at work, I tend to talk a lot more. I'm a leader of a team there. I present a lot of things, but if you saw me socially, I probably really wouldn't talk. So people behave situationally, but they're still their authentic self. And what this does is it allows you that flexibility while also still being true to who you are. So I have this quiz that I would like everyone to take. And for whatever reason, I can't find the chat right now. I'm not sure what happened to my Zoom, but I was going to link it for you.
Oh,
I've dropped it into the chat.
Sean just put it there. Sean, how'd you know?
I read it on the screen.
Oh,
Oh, perfect. This is the link. So if everybody could take a few minutes and do that, and then I have just another slide where we can go over ones, but I would like to hear what your archetype is. Let me know when you're finished. Thumbs up or something would be nice. I think Adam's done. Jeff's done. Great. Does anyone want to share what their results were? Oh, and you can just hit skip instead of putting your email in there. And that'll
All right, so we have Max's. You know what Max is? Max is all right. We're getting them.
Explorer, Hero, Sage.
Hero.
Caregiver
Nice.
or not. It had martyr on the end of mine. So I'm thinking, yeah, take one for the team. Yep, that's part of it.
Mine had a picture of Spock.
Nice. Excellent. So like I said, these are guy next door. That's also on the chart that I'm showing right now. That's the citizen.
Hey, what if we don't like ours?
Too bad. Just
Okay.
kidding.
Actually, I had the same thing that Sean, I don't feel so bad. Sean had it too, so.
Did you have what did you have?
Oh, it won't go. Hang on.
Royalty,
Royalty.
Yeah, royalty.
I
Yeah.
see. I see.
rerule, dude.
Yeah, it's not terrible. So within each of these, so these are all a certain archetype, and there's a certain image that you think of or personality if you hear these names. So the royalty brand that also, I will say, I'm not going to get into all of this because there's like lots of books that we would need, but within each of these, there's 4 to 5 different subsets. And so like in the royalty family, there's the sovereign, there's the patriarch, there's the ruler. So the ruler, for example, is different from those other ones because they're put into a place of power by having a proven track record. So they didn't choose it for themselves. It's just everybody else was like, you're really good at this and you should probably lead this team. So there's different subsets to these. And I think, Shelley was saying at the very end, hers says martyr. When I did this earlier, I have the magician. And at the end of that, it says innovator. I don't feel like I'm an innovator though. I don't align with that, but something that the magician brand does or archetype does is that it like makes things kind of happen out of thin air. So, and that's what I've done primarily at my companies is I take a bunch of concepts and then I say, here's the direction we're going. This is the brand, right? And so, and people really resonate with that. And other magician brands would be like Disney or like TED Talks. They present these ideas and kind of like, they produce something that you weren't expecting. A lot of sage I'm seeing, which is nice. That's, very consultative. You're the guide for people. What's a little different between a sage and a hero brand would be like Nike. But for people, the hero versus the sage is that the hero is somebody that is more like you're admiring them and they're empowering you through kind of like you want to be like them, where the sage is really helping you along through that process. I hope you found this interesting. And if you don't like yours, you can retake it. You can retake it and you can have like your friend or partner take it and like see how they view you, because sometimes other people have this different view of you that you might not notice professionally or personally, really. Jeff's uncomfortable with being royal, I see.
Well, actually, when I read it, the subtext, it says to create a prosperous, successful community. That's what we're doing here. And leverage their authority and lead by example. So I can go with that.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
anybody else not like theirs?
It's funny though, how they because we are what we are, they're kind of like in a small group, a lot of repeats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Test.
I think
The test was too imprecise for me to even answer some of the things. I was just confounded.
yeah. So I've used this this test a few times, and I will say the people that like it's really easy for me to do. I don't like it doesn't I don't know. It's not hard. People that have been engineers or more on that like calculating side, they've actually struggled with this a lot. Or I've done other brand things where it's like, if you were a car, what would you be? And they're like, why are you even asking me that? Like, I hate this question. So it's interesting to me what like
Right brain, left brain.
Yeah, how people perceive things. So what was yours?
Sage.
A sage.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, if you're interested, I could tell you what the subsets are later. I have a book that's on my desk in my office, but yeah, they're all a little bit different, because I actually did this with Jeff probably a year ago or more, and we went through, had other people take it, compared results, went through all of the subsets, and the one that he most aligned with was actually a subset of Sage, which is the mentor, which if you think of a mentor and you think of Jeff, it doesn't seem, out of line at all. Great. So now we know what your strengths are and what category you fit in here. And now we're going to talk about your values. And what values are a set of attributes and how you behave that allows you to be really consistent and helps you conduct, like it can help you prioritize or how you lead kind of a business. It'll help you allocate resources, like if you're making decisions and one of the ways to approach the decision doesn't align with what you value, then that's probably not the direction that you want to go. So I did find the chat. Here's the next document that I'm going to have you look at. So this, you can make a copy of it. This is just a little values exercise. So if you go to, I think it's file and then make a copy would probably be best, because then you can mark this up. What you're going to do is to find what your core values are. You'll kind of go through the list, and what I do is I either highlight or cross out or just delete the ones that I don't really care about. And once you've got a shorter list, then you kind of just keep on narrowing it down until you can pick like 1 or 2 words, and maybe the word isn't on here, but it's a synonym or something that you can say definitely, like, these are the 2 things that I value most. And I know for me, those 2 things are honesty and fairness. But they're different for a lot of people. We did this exercise with my team, and I think my previous colleague, his were competition and self-assurance. and I was like, oh, like those are 2 things that I definitely crossed out like immediately. Those aren't things that I strongly value, but you do. And then it helps me understand kind of like how he showed up in meetings and stuff. So I wanted to know, 1, has anybody done a values exercise before? Great.
I
Diane,
did something called the dichotomies. We did an exercise. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I haven't, but I'm interested.
It's a deck of cards, and it has this was done at one of these executive classes. Yeah, so it has, you go through this deck of, I think how many cards it is. It has different values and styles and whatever, and you go through a process of sorting them out and then pulling, constantly reducing down the deck by, putting certain pieces apart. So you start with, let's say 16, and then you say, okay, pick 8, and then you pick 4, whatever, something like that. It's the same type of idea.
Yeah.
That's great. What Sean just posted, for a company and for a team, 1, you can have your individual values. If you're thinking about your company and how you want to lead that direction of the company, what are those company core values? And that should be the base of your culture. So within our company core values at Pivot, it's honesty is one of them. And then there's like impact, determination, professionalism, and balance. And when I'm interviewing people, something that I will do is seeing how their answers relate to those things. Like, were they a team player? How did they present themselves? Do they value the fact that our company has an impact? And trying to hire toward those values and having people aligned around them, like, ensures a good culture. Diane, you raised your hand when you said you had already done a values exercise, and I wanted to hear what you had to say.
It was, they ended up kind of in the area that I had thought they would be. And then I took it a step further, and my husband did his, and then we came together and created family values too.
Yeah.
And the thing for me, like, my personal values drive my work too. So it's like, is this potential client, does it align with these values? Is it really in my vision of where I want to go? And then with family, like, there's so many competing priorities and so many things to do. So there's also this, like, okay, well, the things that we're going to do, does it align with our family values as well?
That's great.
and making choices based off of that rather than making those choices like in the moment because you're feeling the pressure of making the choice.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Susan, do you have your hand up? No?
I think that was saying that she had Strengths Finder.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to take it down. Thank you.
Okay.
Jeff, do you know what your values are?
No, there's too many on the list.
Okay.
Take me a while.
Yeah, this one's longer. Oh, and this list is from Brene Brown's website. I love her.
Yeah, I like the idea Andrew brought up about, having cards. I could do that, like pick this one or pick that one, or this is going to be harder to do.
That's interesting. The cards for me, I feel like would be harder because I would want to sort them first. And I'd probably put them in an alphabetical list.
Yeah.
But it's basically, are you A or B? So pick A or B. You
Yeah,
can't
'cause
do both.
yeah,
So
then you're only
you
making
go through it.
one choice at a time. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's a value I have. I only like to make one choice at a time.
Simplicity could be,
Yeah, there you
could
go.
be one of yours.
Yeah, so what Sean just wrote, I agree 100%, Sean. I've had so much fun with teams doing the Strengths Finder. It's always a lot of fun to do it. Kind of like doing it with 23 people at the same time. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have gotten everybody's results ahead of time and then we could have mapped where everybody was.
Yeah. Well, it's not too
We
late.
could do that for next time.
Yeah, not too late. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, what Patrice said, because you are what you are. So now you have to figure out how to, do the best you can with what you are. Agree.
Great.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right.
So after you go through your values and figure out what those are, this is what we've kind of accomplished so far. We've done our mission, our vision, our mission, core values. And then next time, we're going to focus on your value proposition, which is what makes you unique and stand apart from everybody else on this call, and why your clients choose you. So for last time and this time, we've really focused on yourself, right? And how you are viewing yourself and how your client and how other people kind of view you. But this one, for next time, we're really going to focus on outwardly. So the statement is positioned through your customer's eyes and why they choose you. So your homework is to think about some feedback that you've had, or like maybe you've had, if you've had any sort of testimonials or a customer that's like given you, it could be good or bad feedback, but like why did they choose you, or why didn't they choose you? Because sometimes the reason why they didn't, maybe that was good for you too. So it helps you segment a little bit. And we're gonna drill into that.
Sounds good. So we get to tell you why somebody didn't like us?
If you want to do that. I think sometimes it's not necessarily didn't like you, but maybe it wasn't a good fit for your business. So, like we'll get inquiries from people that aren't necessarily the right size business for us, or they're just not qualified for us, but then you can pass them on to somebody else. So that can kind of help you segment too, like what is it about you, and also who are we trying to get business from? Because there's a target that you want to hit on, and anything kind of outside that target audience is either going to be too much of a pain or too much work and maybe not worth it for you. So business development is hard, but sometimes the wrong customer can be way harder than if you would just let that go. So we want to key in on why people choose you and who you want to choose you.
All right. So Melanie, how much time do you need next time? Because I want Stephen to know how much time he potentially could have.
Probably, I mean, it could be shorter,
Oh, you don't have to be. No.
like,
But,
half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour, I think would be good. Or-
No, we'll give you 40 minutes. And then Stephen, then you could have like a half an hour.
That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, don't rush it. But I really got to know what's on the next 5 slides.
Oh, it's a recap, basically. So
Okay.
these are my personal examples, group sharing, if people had come up with their values, and then what was next.
Okay,
That's it. The last one says thank you.
all right, great. Yeah, so I put my email out there. If you want to share your 5 values, and we'll put them into like a grid or something for next time. That'd be kind of fun. So if you want to participate, please do.
Is that for values or for Strengths Finder?
Strengths
About
finder.
Strengths
Oh,
Finder.
well, yeah, just bring your, so how many values do you want us to have? Just one?
No, at least 2. I mean, I think 2 to 4 is probably good.
Okay. All right, so bring your values with you next month too.
Does anyone have woo as part of one of their strengths?
One of my teammates does.
Yeah, there's some people at Pivot that have that.
Yeah.
Why? Do you have it?
I do. I'm always trying to learn more about it.
Yeah.
What
But
I find interesting about, I know,
Right, just real quick, right there, that just tells me so much about you, because I know who the types of people that have the winning others over piece. That's great.
thank you. Thanks, Patrice. What I find interesting too about StrengthsFinder is that even though they could be the same strengths, they're different for everybody because of how they interact. So we did a StrengthsFinder workshop at Pivot, and we had everybody with my top ones restorative. And I sat at a table where everybody's top was restorative, and it showed up differently for all of theirs. There were more on restorative sounds like it's kind of relaxing, or oh, we're gonna breathe and restore ourselves. Really, it's kind of being a perfectionist and be oh, this was good, but here's all of the areas for growth and improvement. And a lot of the people at the table, that was reflected onto other people, where mine is really internal or process oriented. So it's interesting that even though it was all of our top strength, it manifested differently based off of the other ones that it interacts with.
All right.
Cool.
Anybody
Thank
else
you
have
so
any
much.
thoughts, comments?
This is really great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will be sending around an email after this, and I'll have a link to the recording on there to anybody. So it goes to everybody. So those that weren't there can have it. Yeah. And so keep showing up. The power of this group comes from everybody being here and contributing. So
When is the next one?
it's the 3rd Thursday of every month. And I'll send, everything I send around has a link to the, whatever it's called. So you can connect. Eventbrite, yeah, there you go. So that'll be on there. So does anybody have we have 10 minutes, we can end early unless somebody has something that they want to bring up or talk about.
I've got a burning question, and I don't know if anyone here might have an answer or not. And it's more directed for people in the nonprofit space. I'm a new treasurer of a soon-to-be nonprofit. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out right now is our national taxonomy of exempt entities classification, the NTEE. And I don't know a lot about it. I think it's kind of a newer thing that the IRS requires. And I'm just curious if anyone has any insight that they'd be willing to share with me either here or offline.
Diane, if you want to get with me, we just did this for a nonprofit and we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So you and I can connect.
That'd be great, Adam. Thank you so much. I'll reach out.
All right, so let's see. All right, so yeah, so just keep coming back to here. This is for everybody. Invite your friends. People ask me if they can come, but everybody should and could come to this. That's interested in this sort of thing. So, okay.
Excuse me, Jeff, do you have to be a member of FANG to participate?
No.
Okay.
No. No, but we're always trying to raise the people in the FANG. So if they come and they want to be a FANG member, that's great. But it's not a requirement at all. So where's Tim? All right.
Still researching.
Yeah, this is a good place for it. You'll hear lots of stories.
Yep. Thank you.
Like what it should be like, what the frustrations are, all that stuff. So it's good. That's the purpose of it.
Okay.
Hey, that's good. I'm getting all kinds of emails for Strength Finder people. Thank you. Now I'll fill up my inbox. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff, for organizing this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good. Yeah. So feedback is good. And if you know of anybody that you think should be a speaker here, always looking for that. If you feel like speaking, and you should at some point, speak, because as we get to know you, we'll learn more about you. You'll hear from people, you'll build community, you build friends. So please feel free to tell me you want to speak. Okay. Okay. See you all later. Okay. Bye.
See you later. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.